All right, guys, we're going to move on to the second lesson of the unit and just take a look at section 1, which is about betweenness and measurements on line segments. So first, the word betweenness is simply asking you which point is in the middle of the other ones. So if you're given a picture of a number line with identified points, as you can see here in the middle of my screen, it's easy to determine which point's in the middle. So just to give you an example, looking at that number line there, name a point between C and F. Well, here's my location for C. Here's my location for F. Naming a point between, you've got two options. You've got point D and point E that would be in between. So we would say D or E. Looking at the next example there, name a point between A and E. Here is my point A. Here is my point E. Again, you've got options. You could say point B, C, or D. Any of these in here are between A and E. So what if you're only given segments and measurements? Can you find betweenness? Can you find what point comes between the other two? Yes. So let's take a look at how you do that. So there are two methods you can pick from to determine which point comes between the other. So the first method we're going to take a look at is you're going to check to see which two segments you can add together to equal the third, meaning which two numbers do I add together to equal the third largest number. Once you find the two segments that you're adding together, your letter that is in the middle is the repeated letter of the two smaller segments. So let's take a look at an example because that's a lot of words. So let's put it into practice. So taking a look at this example below, AD is 25, ED is 33, AE is 58. So again, you're going to, if we're using method 1, we're going to check to see which two segments I can add together to get to my larger. So which two numbers there can we add together to get to the largest number? And we're looking at these right here. So hopefully you're able to see that we would be able to add 25 and 33 to equal 58. Once you have identified that, again, if we go back up to my method number 1, we're looking for the two smaller segments we're adding, and the repeated letter of those two smaller segments is located in the middle. So here's my two smaller segments, right? 25 and 33. Those are the two numbers I added together to get to my answer of 58. So looking at their labels, AD and ED, D is my repeated letter. So therefore, D is in the middle. And what that is saying to you guys is that you've got, again, here's AD, and I'm just going to kind of label them here. And it's 25, and we put it next to the next segment, which is ED. Again, D has to be in the middle because it's my shared repeated letter. But when I add those two together, if you take a look, AE is 58. Here's A and here's E. Again, when I add those two together, you do get the entire length of that segment to be 58. So that kind of, again, gives you a visual and helps you put it in perspective of how those segment measurements can be used to find which point is in the middle of the others. Okay, so let's take a look at method 2. So let's do some erasing so we can have a clear slate to look at it for method 2. All right, so method 2 up here at the top. What you're going to do is you're going to identify the largest segment or the longest segment. So you're looking for the biggest number. These letters are the farthest apart, so they're the endpoints, meaning they're on the extreme right and extreme left of your number line. So looking at my, again, question number 1 here, AE is my largest segment. And so your trick is the letter that is not used in this label is my longest, or is the point in the middle. So if you look, we're working with points A, D, and E. And I pulled this directly from the problem labels. If AE is my longest, meaning A is on one side, E is on the other, which, looks a little goofy. Which point has to be in the middle? What letter is not used? D. So either method you choose, you should get the same answer. All right, so let's take a look at two more examples. So I put the methods there at the top. We're going to do both methods so you can get a feel for which one you prefer. But again, you only have to choose one method. You do not have to do both in order to solve the problem. They both have the same method, they both end up with the same answer. So looking at example number 2, we have line segment RS is 45, TS is 19, and RT is 26. So the method number 1, I shortened it there at the top. You're looking for your two shortest segments, and your middle point is the repeated letter. So looking at these values, 45, 19, and 26. Hopefully you're able, if you're choosing method 1, you can see that 19 plus 26 is equal to 45. So you're able to look directly only at the two shorter segments. And again, the repeated letter is what is in the middle. So TS, RT, T is the value that would be in the middle. I'm going to go ahead and move on to example 3 and do method 1. So again, looking at method 1 for number 3, you have AB is 32, BC is 13.8, and AC is 18.2. So looking at the two smaller numbers that you could put together to equal to the larger one, 13.8 and 18.2 would, if you add them together, get you to that larger segment of 32. So just looking at my two smaller values that I added together, C is my repeated letter, so C would be the middle coordinate. Okay, so let's go back up and take a look at how method 2 ends up with the same result, or if that's something, again, that you like better or makes more sense to you, whatever method you choose will get you to the right place. All right, so method number 2, we're looking for the longest segment or the largest letter. I don't want to confuse colors here. And the answer, the number or the letter that is in the middle is the letter that is not used. So using method 2 for this second example, RS is my longest or my largest number. So again, looking at what letters are involved in this segment, we have R, S, and you also notice that there's a T involved, looking at the other segment labels. So using this method, if RS is 45, what letter is not being used? T. And again, you would find that you get the same answer using method 1 or method 2. Moving down to example 3, the largest segment is AB, which is equal to 32. It's the letter that is not used, which would be in the middle. So looking at the entire problem, I see that I have A, B, and C as points. If my label is AB, the letter that is not being used and therefore has to be in the middle is point C. All right, so for your assignment, it looks slightly different than this, but the first thing that I want you to do is tell me what method makes most sense to you. Which do you use? Is it going to be method 1, where you're looking for the two smaller segments and looking for the repeated letter, or is it method 2, where you're looking for the longest segment and looking for the letter that is not used? Or do neither of these make sense? If you choose neither, you need to be making sure that you reach out to me so we can go over these together and find a way that works for you. Then you're going to be asked to use those methods to solve 4 problems and tell me what point is in the middle. Again, if you need help, please reach out. You can inbox me on Teams or send me a message on chat. Good luck.